Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Mess. So today we're going to go another interesting and unfortunately disappointing video for you guys this evening because again, Nintendo is pushing their full-scale assault on emulation, modding, and anything quote-unquote fun in the retro gaming community. Nintendo cannot stop these days, they can't help being extra Nintendo-y, so we're here to tell you all of the new things they've done in the last 24 hours and how the ESA and apparently Sega have gotten into this as well, unless it's trolls. Because it just seems like lately I can't go a week without making another Nintendo video in regards to their full frontal assault on everything emulation. And sad but true, I predicted this in many videos and I've been 100% right the entirety of the way. I don't take any pride in that. I wish they weren't doing this and I wish my predictions were wrong. It just doesn't seem to be that way. Now before we get too far involved, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined to want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But Nintendo in 2024 is just pushing absolutely every button and mechanism they have to try to stop emulation. First, it started with the Yuzu lawsuit because Nintendo did not like the fact that Switch emulation existed, and that I can totally understand. People were making money off a current gen system, and that can be problematic. Is what the Yuzu development team was doing legal or not? That has never been decided, and honestly, I think if it saw the inside of a courtroom, they may end up finding that what Yuzu was doing was permissible with the reverse engineering, because emulation, again, is legal. But this is where Nintendo got emboldened in the year of 2024. They were able to quickly shut down something they didn't like and get a $2.4 million settlement off of that. Then Suzu moved in and tried to revamp the Yuzu source code and the project, and they also got absolutely obliterated by Nintendo. That barely got off the ground before Nintendo got a whiff of what was happening, and they went after this as well. And like I said in previous videos, the entire Yuzu source code and every single fork is toxic in the way that Nintendo is looking for absolutely all of it online. And part of this video is another batch of DMCA takedown requests that Nintendo issued while reverse engineering URL encryption at the same time. Nintendo kind of likes to use what they say you shouldn't use. We'll get to that in just a bit. And that is just the thing. It's Nintendo cannot stop doing this stuff right now. And just yesterday in the afternoon, Vimm's Lair put up another post stating that they had received more DMCA takedown requests on behalf of Nintendo, Sega, Lego, and the ESA. Obviously, 3 of the 4 of those names there are not ones that we've been talking about on the channel. Now, I can't 100% say that this isn't trolls. We don't have that information yet, but obviously the first batch of Nintendo DMCA takedown requests was true, so we kind of have to assume these are as well. And if you're not familiar with the ESA, it's a software association group for developers and game publishers. They work on behalf of the game companies that make the games, not the fans, so do be aware of that. And obviously on May 31st, it was confirmed that the takedown requests had been coming from a Nintendo partner, and a lot of them were generated with AI. That's why it seems to have missed some things, had some misspelling and grammatical mistakes in the DMCA takedown request, and why at first it seemed like it was trolls, but then it ended up being confirmed it was a partner company using AI. And if we take a look still at Vimm's Lair, this is from the previous batch, most everything has been removed. Now again, I'm going to remind you, if you want to do anything like this, you should own the game. I emulate games that I have on my shelf, and that is perfectly permissible. But you'll see here now, Super Smash Bros. Melee has a DMCA strike against it, but the ESA this time, not Nintendo, so that is a new party into the mix here. And it seems like Smash might be a topic right now because another site that hosts different modifications for different games, including Smash, has gotten a bunch of DMCA takedown requests yesterday as well. This is just a victory animation that you can mod into Smash Bros. Ultimate so that you end up in a situation where Mario will do a little dance. And this has also been DMCA stricken from the record. And just so you know, I've covered over the phone number and email of who has done this. I just know you guys, you're probably going to send an email about it, and I wouldn't say you were wrong. I'm just not giving you the information. If you want it, you can easily find it. Or something like modifications for The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, just basic mods that you can play around with, not really doing much harm whatsoever. Those have also been removed. So it's not just Nintendo trying to make sure that you can't find legacy games they no longer support on the internet. Now they are doing DMCA takedown requests for things such as basic game modifications. The fact that Mario can't do his Mario 64 dance upon victory apparently is offensive enough to Nintendo for them to DMCA takedown request basically all of this. Or skin simply for Samus, again, another DMCA takedown request. It seems like this site here that hosts these mods received about 150 or so DMCA requests as of yesterday, and I'm sure it'll keep going. But again, it's interesting to see the ESA's name show up in the the mix here. Everything just seems to be coming a little bit incestuous in all of these takedowns, and that is very strange. And obviously, Nintendo's been looking at these things. Gary's Mod had to take down decades worth of their Nintendo modifications and fan information that they put into Gary's Mod. Now, I can understand if somebody was using Nintendo characters in the wrong light. Nintendo does have the right to protect their characters, and if somebody used Gary's Mod to show Mario, Bowser, Peach, or anyone else doing something that would be considered very family unfriendly, I could understand that. But something as simple as an animation from Super Mario 64 being something that Nintendo felt the need to DMCA strike, I do not understand that whatsoever. Additionally, Nintendo's gone after another 127 repros about how you access the keys from the Switch hardware that you legally bought. And again, this is not settled case law whatsoever. Nintendo is trying to say you can't do this. No court of law in the United States of America has determined whether or not you can. So Nintendo just says, no, this isn't legal, and that's what they want to stick, because again, trying to bring a court case is going to be near impossible. You have to fight Nintendo in their absolutely massive pockets. I looked at how much cash they had on hand in bank accounts from previous record statements, and trust me, you cannot outspend Nintendo. They could absolutely dunk on you financially. And it's interesting that Nintendo continues to insist that this is not legal. They have to go to a court and have a judge determine whether or not their presumption of the legality of something would stand up in a court of law based on precedent and everything else on the books. And these repro links were encrypted. That way they're a little bit harder to find, and Nintendo just basically went and worked on reversing that encryption to make sure they got the information. Now, it's not the same thing as what's going on with Switch, but it is kind of funny to think that Nintendo reverse engineered something for their benefit. It feels very much like rules for thee, not for me, but of course it isn't apples for apples comparison on this one. But GitHub did allow one repro to stay up because they didn't believe all of what Nintendo said, so you can see a little pushback. And again, on these DMCA takedown requests, it is not all encompassing. There's still stuff available that you would think would be completely removed. Now, I understand with Thousand Year Door just re-releasing, and I did buy a copy because I do love the game. I did actually give Nintendo money for that one. It makes sense that it's removed though, but honestly, in my own opinion, Nintendo is getting worried because now with iPhone emulation being permissible, again, there's 1.46 billion active iPhones in the world, suddenly the pool of people that could potentially emulate is getting much larger, and the fact that Apple's allowing emulators onto iPhones, that news went far and wide, not gaming news, but other news that you wouldn't expect to talk about video games. So don't think like you and I think. If you want to emulate something, if I want to emulate something, we are problem solvers, we know how it works, we're able to figure out how to do something and get it done. But if even 1% of that 1.46 billion decides, hey, I want to get into emulation, I've never done it before, and it's inconvenient enough to start because of all of these DMCA takedown requests, then they just give up. That's what I think is going on here, and I'm very confused as to why Sega's gotten into the game. It seems like they're doing some stuff with Sonic, but Crazy Taxi, 100% available. You need to read between the lines a little bit here. Maybe this has something to do with the fact that Sonic Adventure was on the GameCube. I really don't know. It's possible that this is a troll again. Who really knows at this point in time? But we do know Nintendo is still on the war foot. They're absolutely going after emulation in 2024, and trust me, it's going to keep getting worse. And I take no pride in being right. I'd rather be wrong and for this to all just go away, but every single presumptive guess and statement I've made has come to fruition, and I expect it to get worse this year. But Nintendo has got a thing for emulation in 2024, and trust me, all these modifications are going to continue to get struck, and we'll talk about them when they do. After that, we're done, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.